the Martial Arts Movie Podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer, Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler, Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master, Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
I know Kung Fu. You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
Okay. Watching this again makes a lot of sense.
What do you mean?
Well, after watching when you start with High Risk and then you go to City Hunter and you go back to watch High Risk again, you see like some of the stunt work's kind of the same.
They do a gag similarly that I noticed too.
Which one are you thinking of?
When do you want me to bring it up now, or should we? Go
Okay.
episode?
Well, yeah, we'll bring it up later when we get to it.
Mm-hmm.
How do we want to do this episode?
I mean, we could talk about one and then the other.
Well,
right?
yeah, I think. Well, what was the point of us talking about these two movies?
So originally we were supposed to talk about just City Hunter for its anniversary.
No, we were supposed to talk about High Risk, actually.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we were supposed to talk about High Risk because of its anniversary. But then you kept on saying like, oh, well, City Hunter has this and this and this connected to it in the background. And then upon watching High Risk, we realized that there's only really one really, really good fight scene. And it's more of like a classic Hong Kong action movie than a martial arts film. Like I wouldn't label it as a martial arts film at all, actually.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, okay, I'll be fair because it is more of an action movie than I remember it, and I really wanted to cover this movie. I think I talked about this several times in the past that I really want to talk about High Risk because High Risk is one of the first movies I've ever seen in my life. I grew up on this film. I was 5. I had this on VCD, and I saw this all the time as a kid. It was like one of the few VCDs that we had. For those of you who don't know what VCD is, it's like that. It's a CD platform that was bridging the gap between VHS and DVD. It didn't have the quality of DVD, and it was very short-lived, right?
Yeah, I made my own VCDs.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I had a DVD player that could play VCDs. And then when I looked it up online, I would basically rip movies onto VCD, and I would just have this big CD bundle that had all my movies on VCD.
Okay, well, I'm very glad that you were able to find a high quality version of this because it's been so long since I've seen this, but I have like fond nostalgia for this, so I guess I was just blinded by that because there's clearly a lot of things we can think about it. But in general, I just have like, I come off with the good feelings after watching this. So what do you think, Zero?
High Risk? So I enjoyed it when we watched it, but I have to say I forgot almost like everything about the movie.
It's only been like 2 days, man.
What? Yeah, I know. Like, the things that stood out to me about High Risk were that it turns into like a Die Hard ripoff, basically towards the end of the not even end, like I want to say in the midpoint of the movie.
Like I think a little earlier than that too.
Earlier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it is Die Hard. I listened to Bay Logan talk about talking the commentary for City Hunter, and we'll explain why we're talking about City Hunter as well in a little bit too. But for City Hunter, he was saying. He mentioned High Risk, and he said that like High Risk, because you really can't talk about one without the other. He said High Risk is like Die Hard if you took LSD. I was like, that's a really good way to describe it. Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that. It feels like a Hong Kong film trying to do Die Hard. There are some things that the Hong Kong filmmakers do so well in terms of their style of action compared to how America does it, because Die Hard is a extremely memorable action with all the set pieces and all the crazy stuff, and even with the explosions and weapons and whatnot. And where the filmmakers were lacking in High Risk, they do amp it up to a certain extreme later on with a freaking helicopter. So which is not in Die Hard. I'm pretty positive that
you don't remember that. Yeah. The Die Hard. In fact, this is where they take it from. The helicopters with the two Johnsons, the FBI agents. They fly up to the top of the Nakatomi Plaza, and they try to blow while the terrorists trying to blow up the roof. In fact, this movie, like, literally, High Risk literally rips a lot of that off.
No, I know, but like, I mean, we're getting a little bit ahead. But does the helicopter crash inside the building?
No, but it explodes outside the building.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like, this is where Wong Jing took liberties and was like, well, I can't do what they did in Die Hard. I'm gonna do what I can do with this, 1-to-1 scale replica and just start wrecking shit inside the building.
Yeah. It is definitely lower budget. You can tell, but I don't fault them at all for that at all, because Wong Jing, the director for this movie and City Hunter and The Magic Crystal, another movie that we covered, he's pretty known for doing like mid-scale kind of movies on a shoestring budget. Like this kind of movie kind of shows, right? You can kind of see where he had to pull the punches in terms of like what he can actually afford on production. But it's laughable at times, because I noticed that like they're just dummy shots, like scattered throughout.
See, there's a certain charm to the lack of budget in these older Hong Kong movies, where probably if you saw it at the time, you're like, oh, that's a dummy, oh, that's a miniature. But the fact that they're shooting it all in camera and there's no CGI, that, I guess, to somebody who watches a lot of film, I appreciate that a little more, as opposed to like, oh, we'll just add it all digitally afterwards. I like shooting as much as you can in camera.
It's cute in a way, but I was gonna say it when you capture a lot of like what Wong Jing does, like you notice that he uses everything on a shoestring budget. Like I said before, he'll use miniatures. He uses a lot of miniatures to establish these supposed large scale building explosions, but they're clearly these tiny little models that he just lights on fire. It's like, well, now as a kid, I obviously didn't notice it, and now I do. But it's excusable. But it catches you off guard, because there's also a lot in this movie that are done with practical effects that you wouldn't expect from a smaller budget movie. So there's clearly a lot of shootouts. They use practical effects when it comes to having helicopter skating across the floor inside the building as it's like cutting up everything and like sparkling at the same time. Like there's clearly a lot of effort that goes into that too. I think the best juxtaposition is when there is a car early in the film and Jet Li and another character jump out of it and it crashes outside the building. And obviously that's a miniature. It's a toy car coming down and you're like, oh, you're laughing at it. But in the next shot, you see an actual car landing on another car and it erupts into flame. It's like, oh, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. It's like there's clearly a lot of effort that went into that too. Yeah,
like they cut corners where they had to, obviously, but where they could explode a real car, they fucking did it. And that's why it is funny to kind of laugh at the budget, but I will always applaud the effort and not going the digital route, obviously, because they couldn't go at this time. It's
95. Yeah, I mean, well, they did use a little CG for City Hunter, which predates this movie by 2 years, but I mean, CG was like its infancy at the time, right? So especially with lower budgets, you don't want to use CG unless you really have to. Unless you think about the CG that was in The Magic Crystal, which is just like hand-painted frames of like a jade rock coming to life, poking a little boy in the chest. Those are the memorable moments of that movie for me. All right, so what, besides a Die Hard ripoff, what is this movie about?
It's about Wong Jing apparently getting peeved at working with Jackie Chan, so he decided to kind of make a Jackie Chan-ish character and just make him very pathetic in this movie. So yeah, I guess you can fill in the backstory more there, but based on what I remember watching in City Hunter, I didn't feel that Jackie Chan was utilizing a lot of doubles. You can see where he had to in certain moments, but I'm surprised that Wong Jing would kind of have this attitude towards him based off of that film. I mean, we don't know all the behind the scenes, so.
Of course. I've after doing a lot of rewatching of these two movies, and I've obviously seen High Risk a lot of times as a kid. Rewatching again, I captured a couple more of those like subtle nuances and why I can see why there'd be some sort of issue between the director and Jackie. And also watching City Hunter, you can kind of see, like where he borrows certain tropes from City Hunter and uses it in High Risk. So you can kind of see like where Wong Jing had frustrations from City Hunter, is using it again in spite for High Risk. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it boils down to just a conflict of interests for both of them. I don't know what kind of person Jackie is like when it comes to the filmmaking process, but it does seem like he's a bit of a perfectionist. I mean, like that's not at all a negative thing. It clearly shows when it comes to his films.
And it's kind of known on record too that he's a perfectionist. That's why a lot of his films come out in such high regard, because he wants it to come out a certain way. So he will do the numerous amounts of takes in order to get that good shot.
Right. And that would conflict with Wong Jing, who he does everything on a shoestring budget. He does everything as quick as possible. And we're going to talk about that for City Hunter in terms of how he likes to work and why things had to be done the way that they were. I could totally understand why there'd be drama there. But I want to start with High Risk first, because you are right. It is a lot more sparse on the martial arts than I remember. So I'm kind of sorry about that. I thought there was a lot more than this, because I actually saw this so many times that I thought I had a photographic memory of it. And I kind of did, but I replaced in my head all the gunplay with fighting.
Right. I can definitely see that happening. Also, when you have Jet Li in a film. Oh yeah,
Jet Li's in the film. This is the first time talking about it.
Right. You kind of Jet Li is the star. You kind of assume, okay, this is a martial arts film, and then you realize that yes, Jet Li is a star, but he has one fight, and it's not even the last big fight.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. There's technically only 2 martial arts fights in this movie that I would kind of say we can touch upon. Everything else is mainly action, a few hints of small routines of choreography here and there, but I would say, to boil it down, there's mainly just 2.
Yeah. Those small moments of fighting, like hand-to-hand combat, are very, very few. But there's not that they're few. They're actually scattered throughout the film in small bursts. So I just memorized, I felt like those moments lasted longer than they actually did. So that's why, all it is just Jet Li disarms a man with a couple punches or so. And in my head, I just remember them being much longer sequences. So I thought this movie was more martial arts oriented. But after a certain point, I was like, okay, that's fine. I can just appreciate it for the gunplay. It's not any John Woo gun extravaganza in terms of the choreography, but it is what it is. But there is martial arts later in the film, which we can definitely delve into. I don't know how you feel. Do you actually want to talk about the action as a whole, or dive into that a little bit just before we talk about that?
We can briefly touch upon it, but I don't think we really need to go deep into scenes, because a lot of the scenes are large groups of henchmen shoot up a crowd.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, and it's kind of fun. There's a lot of squibs. There's a lot of real prop guns shooting blanks, so we get the smoke, we get the sparks, and we get blood splatter on clothing. So I always love seeing that in my old Hong Kong martial arts films, instead of CGI.
Well,
blah.
Yeah. Those days are over, man.
Right. Yeah, I get it. It's it's just a lot cheaper, a lot easier to do it now with computers. But that's why I like going back to these older films. I just like seeing it in the camera.
Yeah. There's a cheesiness factor to it too, right? So a lot of this is completely impractical, obviously being an action movie. But like there's some things that go outside the realm of reality, or like no, not reality, logic. I love that set piece where Jet Li and supporting character crash into a building while during a gunfight inside a vehicle, and they not only run everyone over, but they careen into a well, they don't careen, they go into an elevator, and like everything about that makes no sense. Not only would an elevator not be able to support that amount of weight because it's a fucking car, but when they arrive at the destination, the elevator is ambushed, like by gunfire when the doors open, but there's no car there. And then the car comes coming out of like a completely different room. It's like, how did they do that?
Well, the car comes out of the other elevator, the one that they weren't expecting. It's so stupid. But that's the charm, It's silly, but you kind of laugh at it.
I love it. And well, I will want to point out that there's usages of landmines. And I actually thought as a kid that's how landmines worked.
Right. Yeah, so in our opening scene, we have a character who steps on a landmine. Oh, man, what? Wow, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I can't even remember anything from this movie.
Still?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, there's something about this film where I watched it and I enjoyed it, but like I can't remember the details for some reason.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Okay, so let me skip ahead to another landmine scene that I kind of remember. So somebody steps on a landmine, and in order to get them off, in order to kind of prevent it from exploding, the person steps off the landmine and then immediately Jet Li like hits it with a bat or something, some wooden object, to fling it away. And I'm pretty sure that guy would just have exploded upon stepping off the mine.
Right. I'm not an explosives expert, clearly. I don't know if do landmines work like that? Do they lob up when you let go of them?
My understanding was if you stepped on it,
they immediately explode, right?
Once the weight is taken off, it explodes. I don't understand why stepping off of the mine in this movie causes the mine to spring upwards and then explode.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that.
I love that. I seriously thought that's how that worked for the longest time.
Based off of all the Vietnam movies I've watched, I'm pretty positive landmines don't work like that.
Right. Yeah, well, the scene that we're thinking of is when Jung Hao Yao, Jackie Xiang, who plays the Jackie spoof, he steps on one, and that's when Jet Li takes a bat and smashes it away, so it explodes in a completely different room. But like the one part that made us laugh early on, like you were talking about, is when a colleague of Jet Li steps on one, and then when he lets go of the landmine, he gets replaced by a dummy. In this very glaring shot where you can clearly tell it's a dummy. It's cute. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it's like an admirable quality to it.
I've mentioned this in previous episodes. I am all for dummies in movies. I want more dummies. I want more, bodies getting thrown over cliffs, turning into dummies. Like those are just my favorite types of shots.
Yeah. There's a cute quality to it, and I kind of appreciate it for that. I don't know. I guess if you do want to talk about the action, or do you want to actually talk about why this, like the real centerpiece of this movie, which is Jung Hao Yao, Jackie Chang, who plays the Jackie parody. I feel like that's actually probably way more interesting than the actual fighting.
Yeah, just right. I mean, we can go into the only fight that I would like to talk about is the last fight. So anything you want to get out of the way before that, let's discuss.
Okay. What do you think about how extreme Wong Jing conveys Jackie out to be? Because this is clearly trying to be an attack on him.
This is it's interesting because it just reeks of bitterness maybe something happened during the filming of City Hunter, and he was just like, "Oh, that Jackie, like he thinks he's so great, he thinks he's so good. Well, I'm going to just paint him in this bad light in my next film." And yeah, it just feels petty when you see the characterization of him in this film, played by Jackie Chung. He's just, yeah, he comes across as so pathetic and goofy and unlikable, but surprisingly, he has a story. He has a character arc. So he starts out very pathetic, and then
cowardly.
eventually and cowardly, and then he rises to the occasion at the end. So you kind of cheer for him at the end because he actually goes through the motions of becoming a better person.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of qualities that that this character has that you might. If what the tabloids say is true, it could equate to Jackie as well. I don't want to go there, but this parody character is a womanizer. He's cowardly. He doesn't do his own stunts, which is a big accusation to say about Jackie Chan, because as everyone knows, that guy is known for his stunt work.
And it's weird because you can clearly see Jackie Chan doing the majority of his stunts in City Hunter.
Majority. I think that's the key word.
But still, yes, you can't do everything, and he's there. We've seen in other films where yes, he can't do certain types of movements, so he gets the stunt double. That's fine, right. But there, in other cases, you can clearly see him fucking jumping on top of buses, jumping through fucking windshields, and you're just like, yes, you kind of have to give him that title. I feel like he's earned it.
Yeah. Well, our introduction to this character is when he is drunk. He's had like an all-night bender, and he was like fucking a bunch of. This is our introduction to the character, and he's supposed to do a PR stunt where he's going to jump off a building, but midway through, when his quote unquote he jumps off the building, is actually Jet Li doing it, and when he lands, that's when Jackie, I guess this Jackie comes into fray at the last second to claim as if he actually did it. That's our introduction. That's actually who the character is throughout the whole film. He's a fraud. And I think that's what Wang Jing wanted to accomplish by making this character so like pretty much like the opposite of what everyone expected Jackie Chan to be like. It for the majority of the film, he really is just a coward and like a charlatan. But at the end, he does kind of redeem himself, and we could talk about that in more detail, which is very surprising that we're going to be ending the discussion on that because the last fight with Jet Li takes place about 10 to 15 minutes before the final fight, and you would expect that the final fight would have Jet Li in it, and it should be the best one, right? But it's not.
Yeah, it's very surprising, and it's unfortunate too because Jet Li is the headliner of this film, and his one and only fight is thoroughly disappointing because of the post-production work they did on it, or the style of filming that they did. So there's many instances and shots where the footage is sped up, and it's so noticeable. Anytime I see that in films, it takes me out of it because it looks like a cheap trick to make something seem more intense.
Yeah, I agree with you that it does make things seem more intense, but I didn't mind it. But that's not my nostalgia blindness, just getting the better of me. I think that's very typical of early 90s Hong Kong movies. Something about them, they really like to amp up the speed, especially Wang Jing. Like he was really all about that, and you can kind of see that in like late 80s wuxia kind of movies as well, especially like Stephen Chow's movies. I'm going on a tangent here, but I didn't mind that, because you can see that a lot in the gunplay. It does make it a lot more intense, because the way that this fight scene starts isn't with Jet Li in a fist fight yet. It's him versus a bunch of henchmen with guns. And the way that they make that more intense isn't by doing this crazy choreography with the gunplay. I mean, there is that too, But the real reason why it's so intense is because, like they're making the characters move a lot faster than they, that's humanly possible.
They actually are.
Right. Like Jet Li or his stunt double are like rolling around on the ground. They're using furniture to block things and block bullets. And like there's
a funny moment where before Jet Li is shot, he pulls a guy back, and the bullet is he uses somebody's ass to block a bullet. I don't know if you remember that moment.
I vaguely remember that one.
It's it took me a while to get what was going on there, because he pulls the guy's like legs back.
Oh yeah,
and then you see like the butt cheek explode. And I was like, wait, what part of the body just got hit?
His sphincter just erupted into flame. Right, yeah. So he disposes of a bunch of henchmen, and then in comes Ben Lamb, who I don't know. I don't even know how to introduce this guy. He's been in a bunch of movies, obviously. One of those people. I wouldn't say like he's the extremely good-looking guy, but like he is one of those characters or actors that you assume that because he's he's a pretty good-looking dude, he wouldn't be a martial artist, right? But this guy has a history of stunt work, doing and also doing his own martial arts choreography. So like he comes into fray, and we have our first like real fist fight between Jet Li and him. I mean that it's some fist fighting, but mostly using like elements in the room, props in the room.
Yeah, they even use a body at one point. Do you remember that? There's this hilarious moment where what's his name, Ben Lamb. There's a body on the floor. He kicks it up, which is a dummy, obviously. So it goes flying into Jet Li, and then Jet Li has to throw like the dead body off of it.
That's how strong Jet Li is. He could just hurl someone. We get a little fun moments on the floor. Ben Lamb's like throwing a bunch of kicks. He throws this spinning back kick, a double back kick towards Jet Li, and it kind of resembles something that's used in City Hunter by Jackie, but not as well. I wouldn't say it was not as impressive, but like there's like elements of that echoing from City Hunter. I don't know, like I'm trying to like point out other things that I noticed that were like it kind of resembling City Hunter. But let's see, what else is there?
Well, for me, the one thing that kind of elevates this fight above just being a little mediocre for me personally is that at one point towards the end of the fight, Jet Li grabs the
stage lights,
the space lights. Yes, so it's a very, very long pole with lights attached to it, and I believe there's still, I guess, at least in the movie, there's still electricity running through it. So you get sparks coming out of the ends of the pole. So anytime he hits Ben with the pole, you get the spark. So it's kind of neat.
Yep.
I want to say, because this is a Hong Kong film, that maybe they really kept the electricity on for the sparks. But you mentioned that it was probably like sparklers or fireworks or something. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's my assumption, but I can't imagine it being real electricity.
Well, my take is because it's a Hong Kong film where they they're just like, how can we make these sparks? Well, if you leave it plugged in, it'll spark.
Yeah. Well, Ben Lamb in the middle of the fight gets a hold of this like sword,
like a saber.
Saber. Yeah. I mean, it's a saber. It relates to the plot, but it doesn't that doesn't matter.
It's like a naval admiral saber.
Yeah. Right. Very specific. And Jet Li, he has he goes through like the low point of the fight where he's losing, and because now he's fighting a sword with a bunch of lights, but he actually uses the lights to blind the opponent, which kind of doesn't make any sense because Ben Lamb has shades on. So
oh my god! Wow, you're totally right.
I looked back on it just now. I'm like, why would that blind him? Whatever. And then that's when Jet Li starts doing the beating.
Right. Well, his pole gets cut in two, and then he kind of uses it as like double collie sticks and just starts wailing on him.
Right.
Until that's it. He's just kind of done after that.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I should mention, this kind of relates to the way that Ben Lamb's character is killed off. because he gets killed off in a semi-brutal. And not only does this movie rip off Die Hard, and you can call it a homage, but I call it a rip. It really is a Die Hard ripoff. This also
let's say it was inspired by.
Sure. This movie also kind of rips off Commando, because the kill is very much like how
Really? I mean, I feel like that's kind of.
Is it? I don't know. Well, how does he die?
So basically, what happens is he wraps one end of the pole that has like all these wires like kind of attached to it, and he kind of wraps it around his neck. He throws the other end of the pole into like some circuit breaker, maybe, and because it's attached to wires, it electrocutes him.
Well, there's more to that,
right?
And then
then he impales him with another fucking pole, and that finally kills. It's overkill.
Yeah.
It's pretty much
like
what
he's
it is.
dying already. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, they could have let him, get electrocuted to death, but no. Jet Li is the good man, so he puts him out of his misery.
Does he?
By impaling him through the heart.
Is he a good man? It seems a little brutal. The only thing I expected him to do, to make it more like Commando, is if he said, "Let off some steam, Ben Lamb."